A quick intro before we get going with this interview I did with Christadas Erla, our ministry partner with Gap Ministries in India. Yeah, it was a good reminder that you should always pray before you do these interviews, as there can be a lot of problems with electronic equipment and the different technology involved. So I apologize, but the microphone for Christadas cut out midway through the first part of the interview. And thankfully, we had some backup microphones, but apologize for the sound quality. Um, don't know what the cause of it was, but it certainly didn't help our interview. So that's what it is. A good reminder for all of us. Just trust that this interview is going to be encouraging for you. It's an important one that we did. And not long after this interview, myself and one of the board members from Knights of the Kingdom went to India to serve alongside Christadas. We have a lot more videos coming out about that trip and some of the important interviews we did there with the persecuted church in India. So, hope you enjoy this interview, and you can look in the description to find out more about Gap Ministries and how you can partner with them. Okay, so Christadas Erla, thanks for sitting down with me. Glad you could be in the States and we could spend some time together here at our home. Known Christadas for a number of years and was over in India back in 2023 to visit him and see the ministry and participate in a conference over there. So yeah, thanks for your willingness to sit down and talk about yourself and the ministry and what God's doing over there with Gap Ministries. But if you wouldn't mind just opening up with some of your testimony, and we can talk about that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, brother, for allowing me to come to your house and your love for the Lord and love for missionaries. That's really overwhelming me. Oh yeah, I'm as brother introduced. I am Christadas, which literally means servant of Christ. So my mom and dad, they prayed several years for a son for the family. My dad and mom, they were working for coal mines in 1950s. So when my dad came to know the Lord through a missionary efforts from a small village, so he received Christ at the very small age, like 8 years old. He told me that he received Christ when he was 8 years old. The missionary who comes to my village, tiny village called Venampalli. So he started evening schools, like night schools, to teach people how to read and how to write. But their main focus is entering into that village for the gospel. So the Lord has won his heart, and which resulted my dad to, leave the village because my grandma began persecuting my dad, like not feeding him and telling you brought a new God to our family. So I don't want you to pray to that God. If you do that, I won't give you meal. So my dad's brothers, two brothers and sister, they don't know the Lord. So he alone came to know. Then, so he went out of the village. He began going to railway stations to carry some goods, so that he would get some small amount of money to feed himself. But where my grandfather was very kind, and he was so upset with all what is happening. So he began searching for my dad, and he found him in a railway station and brought him back to home, telling, "You whatever you want to do, do it secretly. Don't pray that your mother would see you." That was very hard. So eventually he was growing, because that missionaries are keep coming and teaching them the word of God besides teaching, secular education. So where my dad again had to leave the house because of again same persecutions happened in his life. But the long story short, so he made a decision to go to the other side of the country, like leaving his own state called Telangana, Andhra Pradesh at the time, but it is now Telangana. So he went to the Maharashtra and started searching for small jobs to take care of himself, and he found a church. So where he began attending the church, growing in the church, and one of the church elders noticed my dad's life. So they began, helping my dad in finding job. And at the age of 19, so these church members found a woman for my dad. And she's a believer, my mother. So they got married. So after the marriage, my dad's heart was, going back to his own people, sharing the gospel. And he doesn't want his family members to go to hell.
Yeah.
So then he received, from time to time, he receives messages from my grandpa that he became sick for missing his son. He's a hardworking man. So then my mother and my father prayed for quite long years, like 2, 3 years, to go back, leave the job. Those days, finding the job is very difficulty, but there's a challenge. So he came back with 2 daughters back to village. So then the villagers began persecuting my dad in a different way. So he believed in Jesus, the new God. You became crazy. You left the house and suffered after becoming, some spirits are bothering you. That's
Wow.
what. Then after some time, again, you left. You married a other lady who doesn't speak our language. Like she's not our own state, own culture woman. The third one, you left the job. This is all crazy. And the fourth one, they're accusing my dad, because of you are leaving our gods, you're only getting girls in your family, no boys. So then my mother and father began praying, Lord, give me a son. We will give him back to you. So they prayed several years, 5 long years. Then after that, they got 4 girls. So it was quite disappointing. And again, the neighbors come and say, hey, one of the neighbors of my village, my dad's house, he comes and say, hey, Mr. John, you believe in Jesus, but he's not giving you sons. See, you are my friend, I have 4 sons. Then my dad, spontaneously he responded to him saying, my God is going to give me 2 sons. Oh, he laughed at my dad. You don't have even 1 son, you're talking about 2 sons. Then when he said that, he went to the home, shared with my mom and cried out and asked the Lord, Lord, please, not just for our sake, but for the sake of your name. I want to stand and tell people, my God answers the prayer. So that was they are praying. So after the 4th daughter, the missionary keep on following my dad. So in between, my dad has gone through short-time Bible school to equip himself for the ministry. So actually, he's a good evangelist. But he also planted through his evangelism. Some people came to know the Lord in village, and he planted a tiny church. And he also went to other villages and did a lot of evangelism and planted other church. So while this is happening, they have a pain of not having a son. So this missionary comes back and says, Mr. John and my mother Shantama say, I think, whether you have a son or girl, it doesn't make any difference. So why don't you just stop here so that you would not suffer having many children because you don't have a job, you only serving, and you do some agriculture. And, that will give you less burden in the future. But they said to him, you taught us about God and faithfulness and God's goodness and God answers prayers. That's what we are exercising. We are praying and God will take care. So they convinced my mother and father and took my mom to the hospital, which is 47 kilometers away from my village. So they were there in the hospital. So the next day, my mother tube will be cut and will not have any more children in the future. So, they are struggling to obey the Lord and trust their prayer or obey the man of God. Sometimes the man of God hinders our faith because they think, natural thoughts, just like, Anna, the prophet Eli comes and says, are you drunk?
Yeah.
She was crying. So then my mom, she cried out to the Lord that day. She was in the hospital on the bed. Lord, I prayed 6.5 years for the son, and you didn't give me, but I still trust you. And today, this is the last day for me, and tomorrow they will cut the tube and I will not have children anymore. So that night, it was, I think that is in 1972. So my mother crying on the bed. Then my father was at home with five daughters. God visited my mom in the hospital saying, I'm God of Anna. She was barren, could not even bring forth children. But you are bringing forth children, can't I give you? That was a, mild voice. I don't know whether it is a voice or a spirit speaking within her. But she tells me. So she ran away literally from the hospital midnight.
Wow.
So some kilometers she walked. She found a bullock cart and got into that bullock cart and went on the bullock cart for a few more kilometers. And she finally comes back to home. And my dad got surprised and said, hey, anyway, I'm praying here, Lord, what is happening with our prayers? But again, we have to obey the man of God. So anyway, he came back and the missionary got mad at my mom. But my mom told the story what God did. The missionary said, okay, so let's pray. So that year, my mom became pregnant, 1973, and 74, I was born.
Wow.
So immediately there was so joy, happiness, and 5 daughters. After 5 daughters, and all the village people, came to my mom and say, "Your God answers the prayer. So finally, you won. We are losers." So then she gave me on 21st day. So in our culture, on 21st day they name the baby. So my mom said, "The Lord, as I told you, I will give him to you, and his name shall be called Christodas, which means bond servant of Christ."
Yeah.
So ever since he was praying, Lord, you gave me, I gave him to you, and you use him for your glory. So they began praying, and as I was growing, she tells me Bible stories, and she helped me to memorize many scriptures. They all helped me, as the Bible says, train a child. The way he should grow when he becomes old, he will not depart from it.
Yeah.
So she did her best. She's not highly educated. She's hardly studied 5th grade, but she loves the Lord and she's a woman of prayer. So at the age of 6, I remember, I was in 1st grade. So she led me to the Lord. She told me gospel, who Christ is, what did he do for us. So then I understood the gospel, and she gave me an opportunity. Ask Jesus to come into your heart, and he will come into your heart, and also ask him to forgive him. So she shared the gospel. Jesus died on the cross. While he was dying on the cross, 2 things happened. All our sins are transferred on him, and his righteousness will transfer on us if you accept him. So I still remember that Bible words, what she taught me. John 1:12. For as many as who believe in him, for them he gave the right to become the children of God, even those who believe in his name. So she asked me 2 things you got to do. One is, ask Jesus to come into your heart and to believe in your heart. So I believed the gospel, and I asked Jesus to come into my heart, and that was the day I got saved. So ever since my salvation has taken place, I was able to, attend child Sunday schools and learn the word of God. So in my village, we don't have schools, only primary school we have up to 5. So my mom and dad were praying, and there was a hostel close to our place where the missionaries began. That hostel started. That's for missionary kids. So I went into that hostel from my 3rd grade to 12th grade.
Okay.
So where we have Sunday schools, Sundays, and the vocational Bible schools like now. Today we call it vocational, but those days, once in 3 months, once in 4 months, some group come from a city and they teach us so many Bible stories with, puppet shows.
Yeah.
And all that. I remember all that. And when I was 14 years old, the God began ministering in my heart, saying, go into the world, preach the gospel. I don't know what the world is, and I don't know how to share the gospel, but in they told the end of the day of our conference at the children camp, a missionary story. So in that missionary story, I raised my hand. I want to be a missionary, serve the Lord. And I look back and see that was all the praise that my mom was offering.
Yeah.
So God is working in my heart. But again, when I grew from 15 to 16, finished my high school, I didn't realize the enemy began working a lot in my life. So he's taking me back to the world, worldly things, like I was, entertaining myself into the sports. So I wanted to become a sportsman. So I was playing a lot of sports, and I'm trying to achieve a national mm, games. So I did my district games, well, and I'm elected. So I was about to go to the state level. So my mom told me, I went happily to my mom and said, Mom, you know what? This happened in the school. She was very gloomy. She was not happy. I said, everybody was crazy for that and they appreciate what. My son, that is not your plan. God's plan for you. God told me He has a different plan. She was strong, convicted woman. So she told me that you would be serving the Lord and God will use you. Then you don't go for those things. I said, I became a little bit hard because I wanted to accomplish my own things. I said, if God speaks to me, I will do, not you. So she was unhappy, but she told me one thing I never forget. I would ask God to stop you not to go to that sports. How can you stop? You are not my teacher, you are not my coach. Okay. Then I went. That was 1990, playing a sport before I leave my district. And my friends asked me, hey Christus, you are only the one who elected. Why don't we have a fun game? You know what? While we are having fun game, I fell and broke my arm. And
Yeah.
she discovered that, and she came all the way from the village to the school, and I thought my mom will cry out because I'm the son whom she loved. She told me, that's good for you. I asked her, why you say that's good for me? Then she began telling me all her pain and years of prayer, her tears, the humiliation, and her commitment, and the name why she gave me Christodas. I began thinking, and she told me, my son, if you're not going to listen now, this is how God stopped you. God can break and even remove your leg and still use you. Don't be, lover of this world. So I began asking God in my, 11th and 12th grade, Lord, if this is all true, you speak to me. I wanted to listen you. So it's all finished, completed in 1.5 years later. So, I began still pursuing some things, worldly things, my education side one. And I see my family suffering a lot with 5 daughters. And after me, one more son was born, because that's my dad's statement.
Yeah.
So we 2 were born, and then after 5-6 years later, one more daughter. We have 8 kids.
Oh, wow.
So she believes the best fruit and the first fruit giving to the Lord. So then I was thinking, let me do some job, find out some electronics engineering or some electronic trade, and make some money and help my mom and dad and my sisters. Then later on, let me see the ministry. But my mom and dad said, God is first. He will take care. He has taken care all these years, and He will continue to take care of us. You don't need to worry. So it was 92, 91. I took fasting and asking God, Lord, please make things clear. So when I look to my circumstances, they are very difficult. And when I look into our financial situations, it looks like we cannot go further. But doing the ministry is not easy. And even my dad doesn't have money to take me to Bible school and take care of me. So I started praying. I decided to fast in the month of May 1991. So I asked the Lord, Lord, if it is all your will for me to go, I don't want to go to anybody and tell my need. I am telling you because I heard many stories how you met the needs of God's people. So I prayed one day, and the same day afternoon, I got a mail from our capital city called New Delhi saying, Christodas, I heard about you in that camp when you were making decision. From that day till today, I've been praying for you. If you are ready to go to Bible school, I am here to support you for your 4 years theological studies.
Wow.
So that was amazing, and I jumped myself in the room and I broke my fasting. I decided to do 3 days fasting, but I got the answer. So then I looked the envelope back and forth. There's a one man's name. His name is Joel Mathai. So he was one of the missionaries working in North India. So he came to know about my dad and my family. So God spoke to him. So after 2 years of his prayer, and God is preparing me here when I'm going on my own way. Everywhere God is, building the walls like speed breakers and building the walls. I'm not successful these 2 years. So in that failure, God began ministering me and speaking to me. Then I went to the Bible school, so where I was equipped myself for the ministry. So right after finishing the ministry, the Lord provided a godly woman who loves the Lord, and my all the lifetime prayer. I was told by one missionary to pray. If you want to be a missionary, pray for the mission heart woman
Mm.
and the woman of prayer. So a woman who loves the Lord, otherwise all our preparation will be in vain. So right after I went to the Bible college, the first year I got that message from one man of God. So I began praying, Lord, give me a woman who loves the Lord, no matter what it goes, where she is. But Lord, my heart, and give me similar. So God allowed me and helped me to marry. So she has been with me for this 27 years. So we have been doing the ministry. We started with children and youth, then winning some souls. So God burdened my heart when I went to the mission fields, and I have seen not only ministry on the other hand, but on the one hand, but on the other hand, there is a lot of deception.
Mm.
So then I asked the Lord, many church planters, many poor people are being deceived. How can I help? And God gave me heart to help. Then I asked the Lord, I don't have anything to do, but I have your word, I have your promises. And one fine day, when I was praying for this, God gave me, you have been honored in my sight. I love you. Give you men for you and people for your life. So I began, praising, taking that promise every day. Lord, you are the one who gives people, and you are the one who helps. So then we began encouraging some church planters in a very remote place. And whatever I go for teaching or preaching, God gives me some gift, take care of my family, and also out of it help. So while doing that, in second year of our ministry, that was 1998, I got married. 99, 2000, 2001, there was conference, pastors conference, conducted by World Vision. By the way, I love World Vision because I was a World Vision sponsor kid.
Wow. Yeah.
So when I heard the World Vision conducting pastors conference, I ran to that. I was disappointed in some areas, discouraged, but when I went there, those meetings just for me. The man of God was speaking. Who will stand in the gap? He talked about missions. He talked about deceptions. He talks about ministry and the need of ministry, and said, "Who will stand in the gap before me on behalf of the land?" I said, "Lord, here I am. I want to stand, but I'm poor and foolish. What can I do?" The next word came from the man of God. God uses fools and foolish people. In him hidden the wisdom and riches. I thought, this is for me straight away. So I bowed my head and said, "Lord, here I am. I know I committed myself to you, but now you are giving a special call to stand for my nation and for anywhere in the gap between this perishing deception and you. Just help." So I went further. He gave altar call. Pastors who want to stand in the gap, come. So I went further, and the man of God praying, and he came and laid his hand on me and said, "Lord, use this man mightily." So I just thanked the Lord, came home and shared with my wife and my mom. And we have no sources to do anything. The following year, Dr. Bill Shade from Pennsylvania, he's a wonderful man of God. He taught me in the Bible school. He made a phone call, and he came to me and said, "Krishnadas, I think working by yourself, it won't help you to achieve much. I think you better start a mission." And God spoke to me that year about gap, standing in the gap. And this man came and looked like confirmed it. So then I talked to some of godly men over there, and they all said, "We will stand with you, Krishnadas, when you're standing." Then I formed a mission called GAP, which means Gospel to All People Ministries. So it has been registered and started in 2001. We are continuing with that. So that led me to different parts of my nation to equip, encourage, teach whatever the Lord has taught me. So while we are doing, some men of God noticed that, and some people I met, so they began coming and standing with us. Now, the long story short, for these 27 years, I've seen God's faithful hand and God's faithfulness and the fulfillment of many promises. So God gave me, as He gave me, I will give you men for you. God gave me many men to stand with me. So now we have started Bible school to teach the church planters from Genesis to Revelation. So we have finished 2 schools, and now we are working out another school. So we are teaching so much, like, discipleship and Bible survey, how to understand the Bible, how to preach the sermon. So these are all we are teaching. We have about 200, more than 200, 50 to 20 church planters. After the missionaries left from the countries, there's no missions anymore. So they are after, the things of the missionaries, what they have done, but there's no discipleship. So my heart was, I was not happy when I couldn't work with the missions. So the Lord was speaking to me, make disciples. Then I prayed, Lord, as you gave me the words, give me people who are into discipleship.
Yeah.
So who are literally, many people talk about discipleship, but they don't have one-on-one discipleship. And they don't make disciples, they talk about.
Yeah.
So I asked the Lord, just give me. Then the Lord sent a man of God into one of my places. So I had an opportunity overnight. I got a phone call to come and translate for him.
Okay.
So I thought it is a translation. But when I went there, that man was into the discipleship, that man of God. So he began speaking about discipleship that day. And my heart was, oh, this is what the discipleship is. I'm so happy. Then he put his hand on me while he was translating and encouraged me. And he gave me his card, and said, Krishnadas, when you happen to come to US, we had a conversation, lunch, please visit my church, visit us. So when I went there, they are literally into discipleship. So he made several lessons how to make disciples. And he has so many disciples he made. And his disciples as disciples, he's a successful discipler. So then, so I began working, their church missions pastor said, hey, Krishnadas, we are looking for kind of guys like you. So introduced this discipleship 1 book and 2 book, and we have gone through and we have translated that into our language. So then God gave me some more connections of his disciples there. So now these teams come and help us. So besides making disciples and helping the church planters to, evangelize, making disciples and planting churches, so we have many open doors to serve the Lord in various ways, show the love of God to the communities and people. So we have orphans, we touch many lives, underprivileged children. We support them, help them, and educate them, and meet the needs. And also we have widows. The church planters have some in their village. I told them, not only just Christians, find desperate people. That's how we can establish our connections. And also, they would know who Jesus is through our love. Many times, it's easy preaching, Jesus loves and all. But practically showing who Jesus is. So many people who came to Jesus, they were not, Christians. They're not convicted people.
Yeah.
Samaritan, she's not a Christian. And many other people. So Jesus did not say whether you are Christian or non-Christian, come to the church, but that was my heart.
Yeah.
So we began helping several widows, and we gave education to many underprivileged children. So we are praying, and the Lord increased our ministry, mission field, but we don't have a place for the training.
Yeah.
Place to take the children into our houses and help. So we had been praying for a place, God to provide some place to establish a mission center, like training center, home for the children.
Yeah.
This is all old-fashioned, some people say, because many missionaries did and many churches now they are failed. But when we are faithful and touching the heart of God, that will not fail. It will continue to run. So that was in my heart. I was discouraged, disappointed by many men of God, because I don't think Krishnadas that will work out, because it failed. But the work of the Lord never failed. It will get failed because we don't hand over the ministry to the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we hand over the ministry or make disciples who have the heart for the missions and people, that ministry will continue to go. So, but when we don't figure out who is having the heart and who is a commercial, where we'll get filled. But Lord told me, okay, no matter you heard that disappointment, but I'll go. Then I asked the Lord, if it is not from you, don't provide anything.
Yeah.
If it is from you, Lord, just speak to the people. So I got two kind of people in this. Some people discouraged and even they did not want to help. And some people came forward and said, Christus, God spoke to me and this is for you.
Yeah.
So now we came up to the point of buying the piece of land.
Yeah.
So we were actually thinking of buying the land and the building center. That will take about 500 to 600,000 US dollars. So already God has provided 200,000. So we are negotiated for the land and we got the land. So we'll have to make a final payment and register it. Then we will have to work for, building.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Some people ask, Jesus, how do you do this? My God is big God.
Yeah.
And nothing is impossible. If He wants it, He will make it by any means.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's what we are trusting the Lord and looking forward for that in the near future. So the reason for the training center, there are many oppositions in our nation. Anybody can peep into, if you have a public places and different places, anybody can peep into our teams and, can disturb and also can take information and what's going on. One thing. The other thing is main thing, we don't have place for the church planters to sleep all the way, traveling 7 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. And they don't have proper accommodation. And also no bathrooms, no toilets, no sitting places. We have small, my church. I turned my house into the church.
Yeah.
So, and we are using that one for my office, church, and my house.
Yeah.
So God provided even for that. Now we are looking for the bigger place. So where the church planters come in and take nice rest and also get trained and go back and again bring other team. So we have several teams coming in the year, several times. Even that property can be used, for some Christian members to come and celebrate their birthdays or, marriage anniversaries.
Yeah.
If that works out. And that also helps me to maintain.
Yeah.
That. And also we don't have a big church that can be used for the church building too.
Yeah.
In the future. So this is all we are working out.
Yeah, that is important for people to understand, because I didn't understand this when I came. India it looks smaller on a map than it is in real life. And so, when you have these church planters scattered throughout multiple states, they're traveling great distances by rail or by whatever means. And then they show up to the conference at your compound and, right, like you said, they may have to sleep on the floor.
Yeah.
And so it is impressive to see that many people packed in there. But the ministry, for the span of 20 years has expanded. And I think that's important. We talked a bit about this last night, but there's a lot, and this isn't just India. I'd say it's all over the world, but there's plenty of people who want to use ministry to accumulate property, wealth, status, influence, whatever it is. And I just want to encourage people to check you guys out and understand that there's 20 years of ministry here, and faithful ministry and faith-led ministry. And I think that's such a contrast to somebody who might pop up and in the States we'd call it a fly-by-night organization, where it comes up out of nowhere and they promise all the good things,
Yep.
but it could be as gone as quickly as it came. And so it's been wonderful to be a part of that. And a few other things I would just like to highlight from my experience with Gap Ministries. We had done a motorcycle ride a few years ago to raise money to buy a motorcycle for a church planter. Now, to me, that was easy. I was just riding a motorcycle with some friends. We got some sponsors, and for $2,000, we could get a brand new motorcycle, which is unheard of in the United States. And so, what was really beautiful was to be in India and get to meet the family, the church planter, and the family that received that motorcycle. Now, to me, and to most people, we would think, oh, that must be nice to have a new motorcycle. But it's not like that at all. This guy was pastoring, I think, three different churches.
In 3 different villages.
In 3 different villages. And so he was using a bicycle, I think, prior to that. And so his ministry couldn't even be consistent based on, if the weather was bad or the time it would take hours and hours to get from one village to the next and do this circuit. And now his family and his ministry is completely amplified by having this motorcycle. So to us, it seems like a small deal, but it's, when we talk about investing in the kingdom, $2,000 in the States, not a big deal. $2,000 over in India, that's a big deal. And it can transform a pastor's ministry. And so I think maybe just talk about some of those ideas about, the bicycle, the water wells, small church buildings, and that kind of stuff, and just how much of an impact that can have. From your perspective, what does that look like?
This motorcycle which you helped to get for a church planter. So he was able to go to 3 different villages, and he has some more villages he adopted. So he planted church in 2 villages, but he's evangelizing in 3 other villages. So he have 5 villages now, and he says always, thank you for this motorcycle. And he was able to do more work. And besides this motorcycle and bicycles, and some of them, the persecuted believers, so they were not given any jobs in their villages because of believing in Christ. So what I did is, some people came forward to help those. Then I went and asked them, hey, what you need? The groceries and all, fine, but that will be finished in a month or a week. But we want to work by ourselves, we are not getting, is there any way that you can help us transportation? So we thought buying, how do you think if you buy a bicycle, that helps to go to a nearby village, and they, were so excited to have the bicycle. So we bought about 150 bicycles to the persecuted believers.
Yeah.
So they took the bicycles. So they go to other village, unknown village, known village, but they are unknown in that village.
Yeah.
So they go and ask the job. Whereas in this village, they are, at one point they said, if he's a Christian, don't give him job, because if we make him, suffer, so they'll think, oh, better go back to our previous religion. So that was their main agenda. So don't buy the groceries in the village, and don't to give the jobs, and don't allow them to drink the water in the village. So this all was painful.
Yeah.
So when I come to know this, and I just felt crying over there. But I came back and talked to my wife and prayed, and all of a sudden a group of people came to me and said, "Hey, Christos, how do you think what way we can help the persecuted believers?" So I shared these stories, and they said, "Hey, we will buy." So we bought bicycles, and they were able to go to the different villages and earn the money.
Wow.
Make money and take care of their families. Now they are continuing to grow in the church. So these guys, persecuting guys, said, "Oh, we have persecuted them, but still they are being supported."
Yeah.
One guy says, "Our God is a God who gave the manna from heaven, but not today. Today He gives in a different style. He gave us bicycle to go make manna in the different village."
Yeah.
So
man, that's incredible. Yeah, I think that's, maybe talk about that a little bit too, Christos. I know you'd shared with, like, the water, they basically forced the Christians to not use the wells in the village, and they had to go out and basically pick up groundwater, which is, of course, as anybody knows, completely unsafe to drink. But what other, you said, I think in the last 10 years or so, there's been an uptick in persecution. What does that look like in certain areas in India?
They go to the churches, anti-Christian groups. So then they demolish the church building. That's, building is not like when you think building is like big building. So they have a building like 20, 25, 20, 30 feet and 20 feet width and length. So they establish small churches and worship there, and they come and destroy the church. And that's one of the ways they create fear.
Yeah.
Then after that they would say, we'll also destroy Christian homes. And then the big believers, they ran away from the villages, hiding themselves in different village and taking care. Last night even I spoke to one of my church planters. He said, there are still some people not in the villages, they are outside. So they are threatened, and they have taken the privileges in the village, no water, no schools. And many people do not know this and don't bring it to the media.
Yeah.
Because if they bring it to the media, things will be different. So we go there and we try to help and encourage them, and we connect them to other brothers in Christ,
Yeah.
so that they would make a follow. So now things are going very bad right now in a state called Chhattisgarh. And recently, they burnt the church and they don't allow them. All the believers went to the literally police station, and there they began singing the songs,
Wow.
worshipping the Lord in the police station. Police could not do anything.
Yeah.
And finally they finished Sunday worship in the police station and came back.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
there's a picture you shared with me from one of the pastors I met over there, but I really want to get it blown up and hang on the wall as a reminder, but it's essentially a congregation of Indian believers sitting under a tent, and in the background their church is a pile of rubble. And yet the service continues. They're going to continue to worship God. They're going to continue to serve Him. And it's such a potent reminder for us as believers on the other side of the world that we can't rest on our laurels. We can't rest on our comforts, because there's brothers and sisters on the other side of the planet that are truly persecuted. And maybe that day comes here to the States in our lifetime, maybe not. But in the meantime, how do we respond to support those believers overseas? Yeah.
The church which has been persecuted, they literally worship the Lord under the tree. So one brother donated some money to build the church. So we began rebuilding the church.
Yeah.
So, now the stories, they had a old building, with the sheets, asbestos sheets we call it.
Oh, yeah.
Now they have a roof which cannot be burnt.
Yeah.
The enemy does, and God does better things. That's what Romans 8:28 says. All things work for our final good.
Yeah.
So now they had a very good building now. We are working out on that. At least five areas we are building, 5 churches. So there is a greater opportunity to extend, some support for the, to repair those buildings, and also, rebuild churches in that places.
Yeah. Maybe just to close out here, just tell us how we and Christians around the world can pray for the persecuted church in India, as well as your folks that you oversee, your church planners and Gap Ministries, and how you guys are moving forward. What are some ways we can pray for you?
Yeah, you can pray for, first thing, protection, God's protection. And even though, God allows in His sovereignty, sometimes believers to go through some pain and difficulties, where He will show Himself, just like, how God showed Himself in the jail, Philippian jail.
Yeah.
Then Saint Peter, and when Peter was in jail, church was praying, and the angel came down. So then all the people, they see the hand of the Lord. So pray that our nation would see the mighty hand of the Lord. So these guys, they think only they are destroying Christianity, but they don't know they are touching the apple of God's eye.
Yeah.
God said, I built my church. It's God who is building. It's not Pastor Krista Das or Brother Samuel or somebody.
Yeah.
So we are only the instruments. And they don't know what we are doing. They only know, they think they're establishing a religion. So we are not establishing religion, we are doing what God is doing.
Yeah.
So we are working for God. Pray that our brothers, persecuting brothers, to know the Lord, and also God to show Himself to our nation, and especially leaders, that Christ is the God of this universe, and He has a plan for the people, and His plan is coming very closer. Like, His coming is very closer, and all the promises that God has given are being fulfilled. Many do not know. And also pray that in Christianity in India to focus on, Great Commission, not on, not on things of this world. Like, I've seen many areas, they brought the world into the church now.
Yeah.
So it's all about position,
Yeah.
passion, possession. What John in his first epistle, second chapter, 15, 16, 17, 18 verses says. So pray that the people of God open their eyes to see the missions in 90 years or 70 years back, how the missionaries have seen the mission. So enemy enter in and is infiltrating the churches.
Yeah.
And that is one of the reasons I believe probably maybe God is allowing the enemy to discipline the church. Not only, we only always say the enemy is coming and attacking. Yeah, that is true. But without God's permission, the enemy won't.
Yeah.
So when the enemy is coming for two reasons, one is to, church to be alert and pray, just like waking up the church to pray. And on the other hand, you are not touching the heart, you're missing the mission. Come back.
Yeah.
So maybe the enemy is helping in that way, but you just pray that God would continue to strengthen the believers and see the Great Commission. And at the same time, pray that the leaders of the nation should see God, Jesus, in the lives of Indian believers or in the churches.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Well, let me close in prayer and then we'll be done.
Please.
Lord, thank you for this time that Christos and I could just sit down and have a conversation about what you're doing in India and through Gap Ministries. Lord, I just pray that you continue to strengthen him as he oversees the work of these many men and their families, just sharing the gospel and building up your church in India. Yeah, Lord, there's persecution all over the world and especially there in that country. And I just pray that you use it to, like Christos said, wake up the church and get them focused on you alone and not on the things that the world has to offer or the things that can so easily distract and pull away from the mission, Lord, and the Great Commission. I just pray that they continue to endure and continue to rely on you and rely on the faith they have in you to pull them through each season. And in times of peace and in times of strength, I pray that they maximize those opportunities to spread the gospel and to show love to their enemies and show love to their neighbors. Lord, I pray for those persecuting the church, your church in India. I pray that they see something so radically different that they can't help but investigate further and investigate the Gospels and meet you, Jesus, in whatever way you present yourself to them, whether it's on the pages of a Bible or in their dreams or in whatever manner, Lord, just bring them to you. And I also just want to pray for India as a nation, Lord. Help the leadership to recognize that Christians, not only are they a benefit to the nation, but that they serve the creator of the universe, and that they are also image bearers of yours, Lord, and that they are created to have a relationship with you as we all are. I just pray that you reveal that through your saints as they endure persecution and yeah, just have all the glory and honor that is to be had in that situation, Jesus. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, brother. Thanks so much.
Thank you,
and we
brother.
look forward to the next time you're around. Maybe we'll do this again.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.